everyone, and welcome to the Dr. Music Podcast once again, where today I am joined by Jon Levin, guitar player for Dokken, of course. Jon was a member of Warlock and Doro back in the day in the late 80s, but thanks to a little thing called Nirvana, he decided to step away for a couple of years, maybe, and get a law degree. Jon graduated in 1996. I've been working as an entertainment lawyer and a family lawyer, as well as a guitar player when he picked that guitar back up and in 2003 became the Dokken guitarist. He continues the guitar playing to this day with Dokken, more than 20 years now. They've just released a new record, the 13th studio album, I believe, on October 27th. It's called Heaven Comes Down. And Jon, man, it's great to have you.
Thanks so much. I appreciate your time, and thanks for having me today, man.
Absolutely. Heaven Comes Down is just a killer record, man. I mean,
Glad you like it.
It is really, really something, and I'll be honest with you, I didn't really know what to expect. It's been a while. You guys haven't recorded in 13 years or something like that since the last one. You've had some health problems, things like that. So the mood, I'm thinking the mood and the, everything like that, maybe you guys really weren't into it, or, not a whole lot of time to write, or it might have been a down kind of record because of, some issues. It's a great record, man. It's a pretty positive record. It sounds fresh and new. Was that a surprise for you? Did it come out that easy?
I think that we had a lot of time. Obviously, we didn't do anything. And then, with the COVID thing gave us a lot of time to really sort of reflect. And at least for me, get in touch with, what I wanted to do, which is play music. And just it set the right mood for me. For some reason, it created a lot of mine. It created a lot of inspirations for me and made me want to play. And, I just knew I didn't want to sit in front of the television and just do nothing for however long that was going to be going on for, So
right.
You know what, this is a good time for me because I have the benefit of time to do something with it, as horrible as the situation was for so many people, which is terrible,
Right.
I'm like, let me do something. Let me turn it into something positive, So I just got every day, man. I'd wake up, I'd go into the recording studio every day. I mean, I was so excited to do it. I was like getting up early and just going right into the studio, great. Even before I'd make my coffee, which is really unusual for me. I found I was listening to a Michael Schenker interview at some point, and I always considered myself a night owl, And when
Right.
Don and I would work together, we were both night owls, I wouldn't even go to his place till late afternoon, and then we go eat, and we wouldn't even do anything till after dinner. It's like, okay, let's go eat let's get some sushi and come back and
Right.
But I heard Michael Schenker say, yeah, I seem to have my best energy for playing music in the early morning. And I was like, huh.
Well, it's good for Michael.
Yeah, yeah, which is right. I figured, let me just give that a try, because I was up anyway, at some point, and I just found, especially for anything I recorded the night before, it really gave me a fresh perspective, So
That's cool.
I just found myself really enjoying that, and I got my Pro Tools recording proficiency dramatically improved. My biggest stumbling block, I back, in the 80s, I had my own studio with a pretty big size board and outboard gear, and I knew how to do that. And was really good at programming those old school drum machines. I was really good at it, But when that all sort of changed to Pro Tools, at some point I remember I lost my connection cord for that drum machine, and then with Pro Tools, it wouldn't even work. And I just couldn't get a handle on how to do it. And my good friend Tommy Henriksen was over one day, and he said, Jon, this is not that hard. I'm going to show you how to do this. And he showed me how to do it. And that just really opened up the floodgates for me, because in those 13 years we didn't work, or 12 years we didn't, we worked, but we didn't do an album. Right. I amassed an incredible amount of material on my handheld. Like anytime I pick up a guitar, if I got an idea for a song, I'd record it onto my iPhone, you
Okay.
know. You know, I literally have like thousands of ideas, you know, like anytime I come up with something, whatever, I'm not kidding, like probably a couple thousand clips in there. I have, you know, I amass so much that I'm like, wow, maybe time to go through that, you know,
There you
and
go.
see. But you know, so I'd go through it. Oh, that's pretty cool, you know. I just throw down a beat quickly and see if, you know, if something feels right. If it does, I'd build from there. You
Yeah.
know,
You know,
that's just me, like how I ended up, you know, being able to get productive in a pretty horrible time for the world. You know.
yeah, and I've heard that a lot actually, from musicians. That's that silver lining where, we're in a horrible time. Everybody is down. The world is going up in flames. There's all kinds of chaos going on. But I think the musicians kind of took to like you say, took to writing, took to recording,
Yeah.
took to getting the time in the studio and
Yeah.
actually creating.
Which,
Uh,
yeah.
yes, it's somewhat inspirational, which
Yeah.
is pretty
You know,
cool.
yeah. You know, that I think that's what we, all the musicians, that's what we do, right?
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
the mood that affects us, hopefully sparks some energy to create with, you know?
yeah. And I would think, in a dark time like that, you might get dark music, but I think it was the opposite. I think, the dark time, I think a lot of musicians anyway were creating positive music because everything was so dark.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really, really pretty great.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool. You mentioned Tommy Hendrickson.
Yeah.
Been a friend, of course. You were in Warlock with Tommy,
Yeah.
in Doro's band. Um, he's got a new record out.
Oh, it's wonderful.
Crossbone Scully. Yeah,
Believable.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's pretty
Yeah.
cool.
Unbelievable. It's fantastic. Yeah, it's
I,
great.
and he's singing on it,
Yep.
which I was really curious when I got it. It hit my desk. The advance of it, and I was blown away. I
Oh, it's incredible. You know, he was a lead singer back in the day. He played bass and he had his own band. I think it was called like TF Hunter or something like that. And he was the lead singer and bass player in it. And the first time I saw him play was in that band. And yeah, he's a fantastic singer. He's, you know, just a great talent all
it's
around.
it's
You
really
know.
cool. It's really cool, and I had no idea. I had no idea. I've been watching him in Alice's band, and all of that, and I have a solo album from years ago.
Yeah.
Uh, but it's a lot different. When this Crossbone Scully hit, I was like, wow, this is the
Yeah.
real deal.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
Fantastic. Oh
It's
yeah.
pretty cool. It's pretty cool. What do you listen to when you're in the car? Do you,
Wow. You know, if I tell you, you're going to be laughing at me.
no, I kind of, I think I've got a pretty good handle on you. Um,
Okay. Right now, I listen to Pandora a lot. You know, I'm
okay,
embarrassed to say, but I'm honest. I mean, right now I'm listening to smooth Christmas jazz.
there you go.
I
Love it,
listen.
man.
I really like all different types of music, and this time of year, I really like the improv jazz, smooth jazz on the Christmas music. You know, I just like
Awesome.
it.
I love it.
Like that. Other than that, if I'm going to listen to something, it's usually 70s, 60s and 70s, mainly 70s.
Okay,
Tom Petty, Eagles, um,
classic rock stuff.
yeah, classic rock stuff. Queen,
Yeah,
Rolling Stones, Beatles.
yeah,
Those are my things. You know, Led Zeppelin, all of
yeah,
that.
yeah.
But
Does that stuff influence the way you write? Not so much play, but
yes, yes,
it does.
definitely.
Yeah.
Out of those influences, I would put mainly the Zepp influence. I mean, if you listen to Saving Grace, if I didn't, you know, if you listen back to it, there's got to be some Kashmirish or Led Zeppelinish influence on that riff, you know.
Yeah, yeah, it's great. So great stuff. And that's yeah, I've listened to what you've created in the past, and I listened to this new record, and there's something about it. It's a lightning in a bottle kind of
Yeah,
moment, I think.
yeah, I agree.
It
And
really
we were smart enough, and Don was smart enough to not let the lightning out of the bottle. And by what he did in that regard, like in the past, at least for my parts, you know, the songs would be written, we'd write, and then we'd demo everything. And then, okay, then I'd have to learn all the demos and re-record it all. And it always sterilized it, you know? And for this one, Don said to me, I knew we had everything ready. And Don's like, you know what? I like all the demo rhythms. Let's just leave them. And I was really relieved to hear that because just like for me, you know, if I first come up with a part, say, right, and I put it on here, that's like version A. And then I got to get it from there into a demo. So now I learn it off that and I go to the next version. That's like the second facsimile. Do you know what I mean?
And it changes a little, right?
Right. So it's degrades each time you relearn it. And for me anyway, it's like degrading a photocopy of a photocopy of a photocopy. Right.
Right.
So, you know, luckily he was like, let's leave it alone. And that's why, you know, I like that this, when I listen to it, I'm like, yeah, I'm a little out of time there. That's, you know, I hear imperfections and I like that better because it was a performance and I wasn't thinking about it. And when I played those parts, I wasn't thinking, oh, this is going to be the album.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I was just playing.
Right.
Writing at the same time playing. So it was really off the fly. I wasn't thinking anything. And in the process, I was engineering myself. So like hitting buttons and, you know, just going for it completely loosey-goosey.
I love that. I love that rawness, that urgency. It's fresh, you know?
And that's something, you know, Don is he's a wonderful producer too, you know? And way back when we first started working, he was always saying, you know, he wanted to get that more raw, off the cuff, off the fly, throw it away, like he sort of likes to call it, you know, performances. And now we realize, at least for me, the best way to do it is don't redo it.
Yeah, that's great. I love it.
If you do it again, maybe it won't be the same because I'll be thinking, oh, wow, you know, I guess the demos will be my actual parts, so I better do them good.
Well, you know, I mean, I think that's art, you know, because you're never done, you know, it's always, you know, art is never finished. It's abandoned. Right. That is a true statement in every kind of art.
100%. We've abandoned every single thing we've ever done on these albums.
Yeah.
You know, you can keep doing it forever and ruin it.
Right.
You know when to cut and run. And at some point you're really just going backwards. But, you know, fortunately we didn't do that on this one. And we didn't have the occasion to do it because especially in the mixes, you know, Kevin Shirley mixed it.
Yeah.
And Kevin works on an actual, like a real board, you know, like, I don't know if he's a Neve or an SSL, but whereas a lot of other people mix what's called in the box, you know, inside the computer. So when he'd be mixing, you know, and with the time difference to Australia, you know, Don would be calling me at all sorts of crazy times saying, hey, all right, he's got this one up. You know, we need to commit it now because, you know, you can recall the faders, but you can't recall all the plugins. You know what I mean? So if we're going to, once we commit it, like, we're done. We got to move on to the next one because if we have to make any changes, that means you'd have to recall it on the board, then plug all the plugins, get all the settings. So it's not just like hitting a button on the Pro Tools, you know, and pulling up the track. So that forced us to sort of say, okay, this one's done. Let's go to the next one.
Was that frustrating at all? You know, you got a guy who's, you know, kind of living in the past, but yet you're going to get that rawness. You're going to get that urgent kind of thing. So was there a give and take kind of, you know, frustration? It wasn't
so much frustrating as it was for me a little bit worrisome. Because, you know, I'm listening to something over and over and over and over and over again in my car. And it's like, God knows what time at night trying to, you know, and at this point, it's like, I don't even know what I'm hearing anymore. You know, I hope I'm not mishearing something.
Right. You know? Yeah.
So at some point you have to go, does the overall thing sound good? You know, you got to look at it like that and not just say, okay, is the kick drum a little too this, or this is too bright and the guitar, you know what I'm saying? Like you have to just at some point say, is the lead vocal loud enough? Because if you lose that, you're done.
Well, yeah. But, you know, that's, I would imagine it's, you know, I'm a photographer and a concert photographer, actually. So I'll be editing photos and, you know, you get into it. I mean, you're looking at it too close sometimes. So, you know, I'll be editing and I'll leave it for the night. I'll come back in the morning and I'll look at it and it's like, whoa, what is that? You know, it's just a completely fresh look. Yeah. Was I really looking at this last night? You know, I would imagine it's the same with the music, where you're listening to each part, but you're not listening to the whole thing. Uh,
Right. That's what
you know,
happens. You get hyper focused. You know what? Now I can listen back because the record was done long before it ever came out. So um, around a month or two before it came out, I started listening to it again in the car because honestly, like I didn't listen to it for a really long time.
Probably a
Uh,
good thing, right?
yeah, no, not so much intentional, but by the time we were done mixing and then we mastered this record like 3 or 4 different times to
Wow.
we were committed to getting it,
Yeah.
how we how to the point that everyone's like, okay, this is great,
Yeah.
so, by that point it's like, I needed to get away from it too.
Yeah.
Sure, Don did too. I'm sure he wasn't like still listening to it after you heard one mix of Fugitive 100 times.
Right. Right.
Probably at that point it was like, oh, let's abandon this thing, I got it done, I got to move on with
Yeah.
life. So listening to it 9 months later, all of a sudden it's like you're listening to it more as a whole work as
Hmm.
opposed to the hyper focused way that you'd previously been looking at it. And
Yeah.
yeah, and then I found like, wow, these songs are really taking on a life of their own.
Yeah.
you know and that's when I really felt like, oh, I think we have something really special here.
It is.
Doing it, there's moments when you feel that way, but you never can really be sure because there's so many things from A to Z on an album, from like starting to record all the way to getting a finished product, that it's like anything goes wrong, the whole thing can just really fly off into the cliff.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
even though you have moments like for me, like when Don started singing the opening lines of Fugitive, I had the track here and I had him. We spent all day getting like a mic together, which was a whole fiasco, whatever. So we finally get a mic going. I play him the track, and like right off the top of his head, he comes up with that "I'm a Fugitive from Life" thing. And like
Yeah.
as soon as he did that, honestly, like I got like a chill goosebump thing, and I have it's
Cool.
burned into my head when that happened. And like I remember like just stopping for a second. I turned around, I said to him something like, "That Don, that's freaking awesome, man." I don't know if he knew it, but I knew it.
Yeah.
As soon as he spit that, I was like, and he sang a rough of that in my house, the whole thing that night. Yeah,
Unbelievable. He does that though, doesn't
yeah,
he? I mean,
he does. He
yeah.
can, when his switch is on, man, he can boom off the cuff. And I personally think that the off the cuff stuff that he does is just like, I'm like, don't mess with it. Like
Yeah.
that's it. Go down. You want whatever, finish the lyrics, but it's just really, and you have to record him right when it happens. So I'm always sort of ready when working with to put it on here or put it on something, because he won't do it the same way. If you wait, if you didn't catch it that way, say, and 2 seconds later, it's like, oh, okay, do that again. And you hit, he'll
And he'll
do
sing it.
something sometimes equally as good, but it's not, but a different way.
Right, right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I think he's a passionate guy.
Oh
Uh,
yeah. John's a real musician, man.
yeah, yeah, and
Absolute privilege to work with him for all these years.
it reminds me when you say stuff like that. I've had a chance to be around Paul Rogers quite a bit, and Paul is the voice. He's got that bluesy kind of thing, and I don't think I've seen him a million times. I don't think I've ever seen him perform the same song the same way twice.
Yeah,
It's
some guys are like that. They can just really, you
he's
know,
feeling something.
and they feel it. They just do what they do.
Yeah.
George Lynch is like that on guitar.
Uh,
Oh God, man, I've never seen somebody pull stuff like, it's just wonderful to watch it, man. Like
yeah.
it's just
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's not everybody. Not everybody can do that or wants to do
No,
that.
not everyone can. Then there's other guys that are great too, and they plan it out. And
Yeah.
then there's nothing wrong with that. One's not necessarily better than the other. I mean,
Right.
I get the sense that Randy Rhoads wrote all his leads and planned them out. And look, those were incredible,
Right.
unbelievable works.
Yeah.
So everyone has their own way, and there's no right way.
No, it's art.
Yeah, that's exactly.
That's what it is. Um, Now let's go back to the beginnings of you for
Sure.
a second. We've heard it all. I hate to put you through all of it all
No, no, it's all good, man.
the time. You're with Warlock and Doro. Gene Simmons comes in to produce.
Right.
Uh, yeah, you tell Gene, nah, no thanks.
Yeah, not in so many words, but yeah,
Right.
if you want the low, I could tell you sort of what happened. I mean,
Well, he wanted you to play a certain way, right?
he called me one day and he asked me, he said he wanted me to play with an Angus Young guitar tone.
Right. Right.
Um, he said you need to clean up your sound. I want you to play that Angus Young tone. It was sort of funny because I was like, I always had a job as a young guy. I still today. Unfortunately, all work. But
A
I
few of
remember
them.
I worked all day and I was exhausted. I was rested. I was had to lie down after work. And back then there was no cell phones. And Gene called my house, and my mother answered the phone. I was just young 20s, and I remember my mom going like, "Jonathan, Gene's on the phone." That was it was
He
a
had to
funny.
love it.
So then, and I answered the phone, and I remember he said to me, he wanted me to play with an Angus Young guitar tone. So. Yeah, I love Angus, man. I'm a huge AC/DC fan, but I got to play with my own sound, man. I don't want to play with anyone else.
Right.
I got to do my thing, whatever that may be. I don't. I just knew it wasn't an Angus Young tone.
Right. Well, and I listened to what you do with Dokken, um, and Warlock and the Doro, that record at least. It's very Lynch. It's just naturally very similar to George.
George is my three biggest influences are George, Eddie Van Halen, Randy Rhoads.
Yeah, there you go.
So, yeah, and maybe at that time in my life, George might have been the biggest of the three.
Right.
Like it was a progression. I think it was like, and don't get me wrong, I love all three, but I think I just stumbled onto. I think it was Eddie Van Halen first, then Randy Rhoads, and then I found George. Because I didn't find Doc until one day I heard Paris is Burning on the radio. And I think at that point I was already like in 12th grade, which was for me 17, 18, Whereas I heard Eddie Van Halen when I was 15, or 16. And then I heard Randy Rhoads when I was 16, 17.
Yeah.
So that was the progression for me,
But it's just, I mean, the fit is incredible. It really is. I mean, you play very similar to George. Now, was that something that you like when you joined Dokken? You get in there, you're doing Jon Levin. I mean, you're staying true to the parts.
Right, I'm doing Jon Levin, who already had the George Lynch influence, right?
Right.
Like, listen to the Warlock record. You even said it. I already was sort of in that direction. I didn't join Dokken and say, "Oh, I have to try and sound different." I already sounded like that because George was already an influence. Do you see?
Right.
And when I got into the Dokken thing, Don was trying to steer me away from that.
That was my question eventually. Was
he was trying to steer me away.
Right. Was
and
that
I was on, this is how I play, can I just be me? Like, these are my influences. This is how I play naturally. It wasn't like Don never ever said, "Oh, you're going to play in Dokken, you should sound more like George." I already had that as the influence.
Yeah. He probably said,
don't sound. Yeah. I love the way George plays,
Oh yeah. And I can see him saying, don't try to sound so much like George.
He tried, yeah. But you know what? Yeah, that's what that's my,
Yeah, it's really, really pretty cool. It shows what a great fit it is. You become an attorney.
Yeah.
Get Jeff Pilson for a client.
Lovely guy, by the way. Wonderful guy.
How does he find Jon Levin as a lawyer? Was that, were you referred, or did he just look you up in the Yellow Pages?
My whole career as a musician is traceable back. You see, I think everyone has someone in their life that's a pivotal point, I think. And for me, it was Tommy Henriksen. Like he was the lightning rod that got, that's how everything happened for me, because I was in a club band called Devious on Long Island. Tommy happened to see me. The Warlock thing came up. He recommended me for that. I auditioned and I get that. Then after, the Gene call, when I didn't really want to do the Angus Young thing, Bobby Rondinelli, Tommy and I, and we did our own demos and had another singer. We found another. I knew this guy Eric St. Michael's. I'm like, hey, I want to do a demo. I was always playing, so we had time off because we were done touring and I had my studio. I work in the studio. Tommy would come over again. We just started writing. Just somehow we fell into doing some demos, and we ended up they came out great, and next thing you know, we got signed to Atlantic Records. So it wasn't like any planned out thing. That's just sort of how it happened,
Yeah.
And eventually Tommy moved to the powers of the music business destroyed that band. Tommy moves out to Los Angeles, and he becomes friends with Jeff, and he moves. I think he actually was living near Jeff, and they were in Jeff's band War and Peace together.
Right.
So then I moved out to Los Angeles a year or two later, and then met Jeff through Tommy.
Okay.
Well, Jeff knew I was a guitar player.
Okay. Yeah.
I wasn't a lawyer yet. I wasn't yet a lawyer.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, because that was 90. I was summer of 91 when I moved to Los Angeles.
Okay.
I met Jeff around 91, 92.
Man.
I didn't go to law school till 93.
Okay. Your story is great, man. I mean, it's just, because you're just such a down-to-earth guy, man, just a regular guy. It's not like you were the son of somebody born to be a rock star kind of thing. You know what I mean?
I'm just a musician, man. I don't like any of the other nonsense. So we're all just musicians. So all the real ones are just musicians,
Yeah, yeah, and you love what you do, and you've had the law career and everything else, and all of these pieces falling into place, piece after piece after piece. You had a hand, and it seems that you played it just right. You could have played it differently
by accident. No, I'm dead serious. This whole thing just happened by accident. I think that's my brother-in-law always says to me, like he knows me really well, knows how I live. He's like, man, you're just like, it's like your whole life is just by accident, because I don't actively pursue, like, that's just not my personality. Right. Just everything that I've ever done in my life just sort of happened by accident. That's why I'm convinced it must be some sort of computer program or something, because I was the biggest Dokken fan. Like, as the kid, I had all the records. All of a sudden I'm in the band. It's just bizarre, right?
Isn't that crazy? That's so cool. That's so cool. So happy for you and proud of you. It's great, man. Did you ever think of writing all this down, and a book?
That's right now.
Let's transcribe it and get it out there. No, seriously, it's such a great story. It's inspirational for the regular guy. It's inspirational for the fan. You were a Dokken fan, like you said. Now you're playing in the band. You're a huge part of the legacy of the band. One of the longest running members of the band, next to Jon.
Wow. At this point, yeah.
It's crazy.
Time go, man. A lot of time, right?
It's great, man. It's really inspirational. Is that something you've ever thought about?
No, I never thought anybody would actually be interested in it. So, like,
yeah, I don't know. It's as a self-help book. I mean, seriously, you are an inspiration, man. Really.
Well, thank you very much, man. I appreciate it. I'm just trying to do my music and hope something whatever I do brings a smile to someone's face.
I love that, man. That's what makes you great, man. Right there, for sure. I've heard that, again, Tommy. He's been with Alice. You were offered that Alice gig.
That's true. That was in 90.
91?
91 when Greg Smith was in the band and Vinnie Moore. Yeah. I got that.
Yeah. And again, Alice calls this time. No thanks.
It was Greg who called me and said, "Hey, Jon, Vinnie Moore just quit the band. I heard can you come play? We're playing Red Rocks. You're in." I mean, and I'm sitting there in my kitchen, and like these guys I just brought out from California sitting looking at me. Like the bass player just landed 2 days ago. I was like, I didn't know it. So I don't know. I wanted to have I still at that point wanted to have my own band,
Right. And that's, again, admire that. There's loyalty there. There's doing the right thing. It's just, but look what it got you. You're in a great place. It seems,
I might never have gotten to the Dokken thing, which is I really feel like that's where I belonged. I might not have gotten this had I done that. Like you don't know what that road could have taken.
right.
Who? I mean, I might have done that and never moved to Los Angeles. Who knows?
Yeah, yeah. It's just like I say, you got a hand to play, and on the outside, for me anyway, looking in, you played it perfectly, man. That's
Oh,
really.
thanks. Like I said, accidentally.
But I mean, when you look, well, I'm looking back and I'm like, he says no to Gene Simmons. He says no to Alice Cooper. What the hell is wrong with this guy?
Well, the no to Gene Simmons just we were going to be doing another record, and he was going to be producing it.
Right, right.
And I just knew that my heart said to me, John, like I just always followed in there. I have this little voice in there that tells me what's right for me, and I just try to listen to it. And I knew, I mean, but it wasn't such a big decision. I mean, I'm sure if you asked 10 other guitar players, hey man, who don't play like Angus Young, would you, if someone told you have to change your tone to Angus Young, I'm at like it just wasn't me.
Right. But when you're asked by Gene Simmons, a lot of players would give it a shot.
I mean, I didn't tell him no. I just said okay, and then I'm thinking, this isn't going to be right for me, man.
Did you give it a shot?
Nothing but respect for Kiss. I love Kiss and Gene, but just for me at that point, I just felt like that's not going to be. And you know what? Knowing that it wouldn't have been right for me would have made it bad for them because that means I would have been doing something that I don't like to swim upstream.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
Anytime I feel like in life, I just know immediately if it's an upstream swim for me, and if it is, I don't get in the water.
Yeah. Well, that's why your sound is so natural. I mean, you sound extremely comfortable playing the way you play. It doesn't sound like there's an effort to, sound like George or, sound like anybody. It's smooth and effortless, man. It sounds like something you want to play.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. I just think for anyone who does music, just do what you do,
Yeah. It's pretty great. And to go to that, you've been in this business for a long time. It's a rough business. It can be. You've got that longevity. You've been doing this a long time. You've been successful. You make a living from it. Is there a secret to that? Is that it? Just follow your heart.
I could only say how it is for me, and just for me is play music because you love to play music, and that's for no other reason. I never played music because I wanted to try and make a living or make money playing music. When I was like young, I didn't really, I never really had like the perception or knowledge to know like the importance of the money till I got a little bit older. Like that didn't happen until I moved to Los Angeles and I couldn't pay my rent. My grandmother was sending me money to support me. I just knew I didn't want to like cut and run and have to move back to New York because I didn't like it there. It was too cold. Right. So, I always just wanted to play music because that's all I loved to do. And that's all I wanted to do. And that's all I really was, just a musician. I just wanted to play. And even like, I mean, I really like up to a large degree, I abandoned a lot of my social life as a young kid because all I want to do is play guitar. I mean, when all the other kids in like junior high school and high school, to go back that far, where everyone was socializing and going out, my idea was just like, I can't wait for my parents to leave the house on Saturday night so I can play, all night long and turn the amp up.
Wow. That's cool.
And put on albums and learn stuff. So like, I just really, I didn't even want to eat. I was like, seriously, I was like I had like a little twig.
It's just awesome.
I couldn't wait. I didn't even want to go to the dinner table. Like I just ate as fast as I can, and to try and like get it done to go upstairs and tinker with my stuff, think of
that's awesome.
Pedals or whatever.
That's so cool, man. That's so cool. And it pays off, obviously. It's pretty great. It's pretty great. You played with George in the past. He comes to the shows, does the little thing at the end,
what was that? It's been great, by the way. But
Yeah, yeah. It looks like it is. It's great to see, him and Don at
yeah.
peace too, Um, have you ever sat down with George and asked him about his tone, asked him about his gear and, his setup?
Yeah, we got a chance to spend a good amount of time together, but it was more about sort of having a good time. And
Great.
we both seem to share this like sort of sarcastic, dark sense of humor. So we had a lot of, I had some really wonderful times hanging out with him. We did a little bit of gear talk, but it wasn't like all the time gear talk. You know what I mean? There
Yeah,
was some of that, and it was just more about just having some fun. And for me, it was wonderful to get to watch him every night. It was great.
yeah.
So I hope he enjoyed it because I mean, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I'm sure he did. I'm sure, I'm sure he feels great and confident with a guy who can actually play his stuff. And he's not having to listen to somebody that's not great. You know,
Well, I always wanted to do his works justice. I never wanted to like adulterate the works of art that he did. So I tried
Mhm.
to do, the things when I was in Warlock, we opened up for Ozzy and I saw Zach and he stuck true to the Randy Rhoads stuff. And
Right.
I really respected that he did that.
Mhm.
And I wanted to do the same. I didn't want to like adulterate those old songs because it's wonderful work he did. I
Yeah,
just wanted to do the best I could and bring what I could to it in that capacity. But
yeah, yeah, it's cool. And I want to talk about the songs on the record and the writing of them. Um, Don's voice has changed. There's all kinds of talk. That's something I don't want to even really address, other than this point right here. His voice is different than it used to be.
of
Uh,
course,
so I would imagine the writing has to change. The key changes, or you have to write differently. You're not going to write a Rob Halford vocal song for Peter Steele, or a lower bass guy. So you have a different tone with the voice, and it was that when you were writing the songs themselves. Was it more difficult, or was that in the back of your head to where
honestly
let's
didn't factor in at all whatsoever.
okay, okay,
Yeah, I mean, if you look at it, I mean, we tuned down a half step, but not because we've always tuned down a half step, to be honest. I mean, it's not like we did it for Don's,
right,
but ever since I've been in the band, we tuned down a half step. It just sounds better. A half step down is chunkier on the guitar.
yeah,
But no, it would just be right, and Don just sings what he sings. If you look back in the past, a lot of the Dokken songs are in the same keys: E, A, D. I mean, there's only so many keys that typical people write for rock. It's like E, A, D, F sharp,
right.
those ones. And it's those same keys. And nothing really factored into my brain at all. Just write the best stuff I can, play it for Don, see what he likes, and I always just try to give him space in the verses.
Yeah, I mean, it's he's what was that?
That's something he taught me over the years. He's like,
Yeah.
if I would play something too busy, he'd be like, Jon, how you expect me to write some lyrics over that, man? And then I'm thinking about it. You know what? He's right, because like if I'm writing a guitar part, I'm starting from a blank canvas, right?
Right.
Give him the biggest amount of canvas you can give him in those verses.
Yeah,
Try to do open space in the verses.
yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
also on the Gypsy song, I wasn't sure if which is the one. Not Gypsy. Oh, there's one or two in there that had busier verses than I thought. I wasn't sure if I'd be able to, if he'd go for it, but it did. Maybe I
Well,
pushed it just as far as I could, but I just know if I give him anything too busy, it's harder.
yeah, and it's been said, it's the notes you don't play.
Yeah, and you can always make it busier later. Like if he give him a canvas, give him something, let him write, and then if it needs more, I could fill it in around what he did. But it's a lot
Yeah,
harder to give someone something busy and then expect them to work around that. I mean,
right, right, right. Yeah, and yeah, I mean, he sounds I mean, and this record, he sounds comfortable. He sounds confident. They're really, he made them their own. He made these songs his own.
Yeah,
Um,
and his delivery is fantastic too. I mean, for me, he did
it's
he he really emotes really well.
mhm,
Forgetting about like, okay, whatever the vocal range is, doesn't
right.
really matter. I think on Never Give Up, that to me that's one of his best vocal performances. I mean, I was listening, yeah, I listened to it in the car and it just really touches me. So
It's
that's what it is. I mean, if someone's conveying a message and you're feeling it like that,
mhm.
you know,
Yeah.
that's game over,
Well, that's
right?
just it. You don't have to go do things that nobody in the world can do, in these acrobatic vocal things. You get a guy like, let's say, Brian Johnson from AC/DC. He does what he does. It's raw, it's rough, it's not Pavarotti, uh,
Right.
but that's what you want.
And
That's
one of the greatest rock bands ever.
right, right. And his vocal is exactly what you want for it. So it's kind of that's what I got from this is this is a singer who's very, very comfortable in these songs, and he's, like you said, he's emoting with the guitar parts and the music. It's really well crafted, songwriting wise, to be able to have him fit into that perfectly like that is it's not, I know that's not easy, and it seems like it was, is that these songs just fit him so well.
I, you know, it's remarkable how it sort of came to us fairly quickly and easily because there was four of the songs we actually finished that didn't get on the record, but that's all we wrote really. Well, I think there was only one we were trying to finish and didn't, that we couldn't finish, but it wasn't like we wrote 30 songs to get to these 14. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
that's one thing with Don. It's just like if I give him a solid track, you get a song.
yeah, that's cool.
It's not like you have to write three with Don to get one good one.
Right, right.
He's great also at rewriting and reworking songs. He's very tenacious with that. You know,
Yeah,
he'll rewrite stuff and keep working at stuff, and that's really, a lot of guys feel like, yeah, at this point it's easier to just write another song, but he won't let things go. He'll just keep on trying,
yeah,
if he feels like he needs to.
that's cool. Yeah,
Yeah,
let's make it work. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. You were a fan as a kid. What was your favorite Dokken tune as a kid? Is it the same now?
Wow, that's a good question. Oh man, I remember being a kid, and I know I had all. I had I had Tooth and Nail, I had Lock and Key and Back for the Attack, and I'm not sure if I had the Beast from the East one. I think I might have at some point, but I think I remember having that. But I know I had the other three on vinyl.
Yep.
The first one I had was the Tooth and Nail one. And I remember vividly being in my room trying to learn the Tooth and Nail solo. And so I must have been 17 or 18 at that point. Um, but there was, I can't say there's any particular one favorite song. I remember like being able to, I remember, you see, the thing with like Dokken records is like it wasn't just like one or two good songs on them. Like the whole record was good.
Yep. It
So
really was.
learn one song to the next song. Same with like the Ozzy records. Learn
Mhm.
them all, every song, or every on both both of those two albums that Randy was on. I
Yeah.
learned I learned all of it. I don't remember, but I learned it all. I did. And
Yeah.
on Doc and stuff, I'm sure I know learned, tried to figure out anyway, a lot of it. And same thing with Van Halen records. Like I always couldn't wait for the next Van Halen record to come out, because the next one starts slowing it down. Because we didn't have obviously YouTube when we were kids.
Right.
There wasn't anybody who can show you how to play that. There was people who could show you how to play Eric Clapton solos, and some people who could show you how to play some Hendrix solos, but there really wasn't anyone who could show you how to play a George Lynch solo
Yeah.
or an Eddie Van Halen solo. You
Yeah.
wanted those, you need to work for that, man.
Yep.
Get in your room and put the record on and try and figure out what they're doing.
Damn.
You know,
Crazy. Crazy that you did. I mean, that's just so cool. Now that you're gonna, if this is the last record, which has been talked about.
Yeah, could be.
You're a free agent. What phone call do you want to get? What's the dream gig for you if you're not doing this?
I don't even know. Like, I don't
Or do
know.
you do this? Do you continue to do this?
I have to because that's what I do. I don't have to do it. I don't have to tour to do it. I don't have to play shows to do it. But I have to do it. Even, I mean, I play all, like, even just, I just hung up more guitars. I have them hanging like in the studio. I have them hanging in the living room. So just even just seeing television, I got to grab the guitar. But I now amassed a whole bunch more music I have in here, and it's usually around this time of year. It's always around Thanksgiving, Christmas that I get into the studio for some, I don't know what it is, but for some reason about this time of year, maybe because this time off and I have the time to do it, and it's conducive for me to do it. So that's when I'll usually start doing it. But, I have absolutely no idea what I would do. If I would, if I did something else, maybe I'd call Don and ask him to produce it.
Yeah, it's cool.
Who knows if he would, but he probably would. He's real gracious like that, man.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. There's a bonus track, Forevermore.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, cool.
Yeah, to Japan, of course.
Yeah.
Maybe you can explain it for us that have heard this story of how that works. Maybe you could clear that up because I've heard a few different things.
Story of why we do bonus tracks.
The bonus track, the Japanese bonus track. It's always Japanese.
So there's always an extra Japanese song. I think it has to do with something. I think I could be wrong, but I think that the record comes out in other parts of the world first, and if they don't get an extra song, then there's no reason for them to buy it.
Okay.
I think I could be wrong, but I think it is something to do with that. But every single record we've done, there's always one extra song.
Yep.
Forevermore. So there's 3 other ones that we've actually completed and mixed that are floating around.
Wow.
That I think they'll release them at some point, but
Cool. Now Forevermore, unless you get the Japanese import, not available. I have not heard it.
I haven't either in 9 months. I haven't even. So maybe I'll go put that one on in my car.
Yeah. That's a gift, that one right there. So yeah, I hope there's some US release of some kind where we could hear that. That'd be great.
Yeah, I think they were talking about putting out some bonus tracks. So we'll, I don't make those decisions, but
yeah, cool. The sequencing of the record, again, I'm old school, so I love the ebb and flow of a record and the way it takes me on a journey. This record does that. Were you involved in the sequencing?
Yeah, I was. Don and I sort of put our heads together.
Love Santa Fe.
Yes, threw him in the car, and
love Santa Fe at the end, man.
Yeah, I think that's the appropriate song to close out the whole chapter with.
Yeah,
Don. That's all. Don wrote that all on his own, and I didn't play guitar in that. Bill Palmer, the engineer, did. Yeah. Don played it for me. Said, "Hey, you want to hear? I have this song." I said, "Don, this song's wonderful. I don't want to touch it." And I don't. I just feel like it sounds great. Leave it be. It's great, man.
It really is. It's really cool. It's a poignant moment, especially if this is the last record.
It is poignant, and it's very true that word, because that's really, that's a lot of meaning for Don, because he got up and moved from Los Angeles to Santa Fe. I mean, right. And he lived here for most of his life. I mean, that's a really, really, really big decision to do.
Yeah, and
that's a hard thing to do that.
Yeah. And especially being older, it's a big move, big lifestyle change, I would imagine. But it's so it's him and the guitar kind of thing, and
yeah,
and his voice is a little rougher, and I think again,
that's right.
The song's written perfectly for it. It's you want that really organic, comes from the ground kind of.
Yeah, great vocal delivery on that song too, and to me,
yeah,
really wonderful conveyance.
Yeah, totally. Just masterful. Really, really, really great. I want to respect your time. Man, John, it's been great. RC planes. I know
Yeah, yeah.
I gotta,
Actually, it's funny. I got a giant one. I'm just finishing here on the table and right behind you. If I flip the camera around, you want to see it?
yeah, let's see it, man. Let's see it. I just love what you got, man.
You see that?
Oh, look at that. That is just awesome, man. Look at that.
That's what I do with my time. I'm just super into it. So, you
Just
know, I
great, man.
like to go to the airfield and hopefully not crash.
Well, it's cool you got one. I got one right by me. Now I haven't I've thought about it, man. It's I live right on a prairie. That's my backyard.
Oh, yeah, you can put a runway in the backyard
They
now.
do. They have one. And
That's great.
well, actually I live it's called Arrow Estates. It's a community that actually has a full runway and planes. People's houses, they have a hangar as a garage and they have planes
And you can fly RC off those runways. They let you?
not those. Those are for the real
Yeah, those are
planes.
for real. Yeah.
But it's right by the prairie, and in the prairie they have an actual runway for RC planes, man. It's so great.
I'm just super into it.
It's cool. And I've come to find I'll hang out there and just talk to people and stuff. And it's really interesting, man.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah. Don's son came to the show. He's a real pilot. He's a captain for one of the major carriers. So he seems to be into the RC thing. So I'm trying and get him over and go down
Yeah,
to the airport. Yeah.
it's cool. I find that a lot of them are, ex-Air Force, military, pilots
Oh,
themselves,
yeah.
that kind
Totally.
of thing.
I'm
Yeah,
like the youngest guy around at these airfields at the time, man. I made a whole bunch of friends, and I'm just super into it.
it's awesome, man. It really is. And being a photographer, I've thought about drones, which is a similar kind of, it's not a plane, but I tried to work one of them things, man. It's like I'd love to have one, for the photographic opportunities, but I can't fly them, man. I just can't. I mean,
Yeah, it's not as
it's
easy.
not easy, is it?
Especially well, the airplanes are, it's definitely a pretty steep learning curve. But just
Yeah,
I seem to like things that require a lot of time input. That real steep. Like guitar is a steep learning curve. It takes a
yeah,
minute. So
yeah,
I'd like to do things that are harder to do. It seems like So this
yeah.
is perfect.
It's a challenge. Challenge yourself, man. That's cool. That's cool. It's great to see your success, man.
Thank you so much, man.
It is great, man. Is there anything else that your bucket list item, something that you've always wanted to do in your life, personal or professional, that you haven't had a chance yet?
Um, wow. Yeah, nothing comes to the top of my head. I've been really fortunate to be able to do a lot of the things I really wanted to do. I think now it's just like I really just sort of want to enjoy what I'm doing without feeling too, you know what I mean? Like without feeling that, oh, what are you going to do with your professional life? And you have to pay all these bills. I think I'm at the point in my life, I just want to, play my guitar and enjoy it and fly my planes and enjoy them. You know what I'm saying?
See,
That's what it is for me.
anytime I ever ask that, I love when nobody has anything, man, because that's, you're content. You've done things you want, you know what I mean? It's
I just want to keep doing what I love doing. That's pretty
awesome.
much what life is for me. I just, what's life if you can't do what you love?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Not everybody gets that opportunity, and
Yeah,
like I say, man,
thankful, super
it's
thankful.
it's great. It's great to see you doing it for sure. You played your last show of the tour last Saturday at the
Yeah,
Whiskey.
and our last show with George the night before at in Vegas.
Man, cool.
Yeah, yeah, it was just really, really wonderful to be able to get to do that with him.
Yeah, that's really man. Your little kid dreams coming true, man.
Yeah, it was just great. I watched I always was watching him after I usually finish my gig, I stay and watch. I want to check him out. So
Yeah, it's cool.
exciting.
It's cool. Any more touring on the record? Is that it?
No, I know. Well, for this year, next year, I know we're going to Europe next summer. I
Okay.
think we're doing the Wacken Open Air Festival.
Nice.
Should be
Nice.
great. Yeah, so we're going to do a couple, 2, 3 weeks in Europe, and whatever we can do to tour this album.
Cool. Nothing set for North America, back in North America?
Not yet, but there's still time for that because it's early. But I know, we're done now for 23, so we're
Yeah.
going to tour as much as we can for 24, and I don't know, maybe that could be it.
Maybe.
Oh,
Man, it's exciting either way. Because I know you'll be doing something great. Either way. It's really great, man. Jon, this has been a dream come true, man. Thank you. Uh,
thank you so
yeah,
much. I appreciate the
yeah.
time, man.
And I'm so proud to promote this record.
Thank you,
'Cause it
thank you.
really is great. It's great.
Um,
Dokken.net, JonLevinGuitars.com. If somebody wants to learn to play, they can
yeah,
contact you, can't
I'm
they?
going to over the next few weeks put up clips on how to play some of these new songs because I've been getting a lot of emails for that, and I've been promising people I'll do that, so I'll do it.
And that's cool. That's a gift too, man. That's a gift. Jon, thanks so much, man. Let's
Okay,
do it
man.
again
Thank
with
you.
whatever you got,
Absolutely.
man.
My
Yeah.
pleasure. Anytime.
All right. Take care, Jon.
All right.
Bye
See
bye.
you. Bye.